Hey guys, it's Jordan with Fathom Inshore, and today I just wanted to go over with how I like to fish a popping cork. All right, so there's a lot of ways to fish a popping cork, a lot of different baits you can put on the end, a lot of different lengths people like to fish. I personally like to use a popping cork to target redfish in new areas. I like to use it in existing areas that I'm fishing to search for new fish, especially on cloudy days, dirty water days where I can't see the fish. It might be real choppy and windy. It just makes it hard to throw top water or anything else like a spoon as a search bait. This is my favorite search bait for catching a lot of fish. So I'm going to break it down for you guys how I fish a popping cork really from the beginning. Just assuming you've never fished a popping cork before and you're asking yourself, how can I catch more fish with a popping cork? I'm going to tell you how I do it, and I think you'll catch more fish if you try this. So first off, with the boat. Let's assume that we're at like a mid-tide to a high tide, so you can fish the edges of grass banks and the edges of oyster beds. So you're going to want to keep your boat off the bank so that you and any other anglers on board can constantly be casting to new water. So if you don't have a power pole or a trolling motor, you can still do this. You can pull up and you can drop an anchor and fish a nice area of coves and points and structure that looks good. There's two main kinds of popping corks you're going to come across. Fathom Inshore, we make 3 different colors of this style popping cork with the cupped head, and then we make this rounded popping cork. So for me, you might be asking yourself, what's the difference? So this one's not going to make as much of a chug and splash in the water. It's still going to make some rattles and still make a splash, but it's not going to make that go-gunk like a redfish or what you've seen a bass even do when they're eating a fish off the water. So for redfish, I like this style popping cork with the cupped head, and for trout, I like the oval-shaped popping cork. Back to redfish, we're on that bank, you're on a new bank, let's say, the tide's high, and you've got, maybe 2 foot of water. The depth of water is going to determine how much you have as far as leader between your cork and your bait. Some people fish live bait here. I've never done that. I like a jig head and a soft plastic. I've used a lot of different soft plastics. I've used fake shrimp, but I love a paddle tail like this Taddletail on a quarter ounce jig head like this Bug Eye from Fathom. So you pull up to your new spot and you're searching that bank, like I said. So each cast of you and your anglers needs to be in new water. If you're not getting their attention, this is a search bait. If you're not getting their attention right away, you can move on. All right, so you cast this thing in there. First off, you want to load your rod properly. This is going to be too much leader right here, but this is going to be not enough, right? So you're not going to cast that very far. You got to load your rod tip with the popping cork properly. I like something in that range. You really got to pick up the rod and hold it and see, but something like that, see how the weight is on there? You can really launch that thing. So you and your anglers can cast this into new water, and you're going to let it sit when it casts. It's going to make a big splash right off the bat. Let it sit for 5-10 seconds, and then 1-2 really hard chugs on it. And you want it to make that sound like go-gunk. If it's not making that go-gunk sound, then you don't have enough slack out. So let your line go a little bit slack. Boom, boom, 2 pops. Then let it sit for 10-15 seconds. Reel it in a little bit. Boom, boom. So search, maybe pop it 5-6 times, then bring it back to the boat and cast again. And you just repeat that down all these new banks and you'll find fish. Hey guys, so I switched up the color just so you guys can see what it looks like in the water. And I'm not going to cast it as far as I can just because I want you guys to see on video what the pop looks like, the proper looking pop. So here you go. Just going to cast it right here down the bank. I do like to keep my cork pretty close to the bank. I believe the fish are going to be working this bank for bait. So it landed and created a splash. So sometimes I'll just let it sit for a couple seconds. And then, see there's a little bit of slack in the line, bam, bam, and then let it sit, 10-15 seconds. Reel in a little bit of the slack, not all of it, and then pop, pop. So I'm going to do that about 5 or 6 times, bring it back towards the boat as I do it, and then cast again. And if we don't get a fish here, we just move the boat down the bank. This is a technique that we use for tournaments, and people use this technique from the Carolinas all the way down to Louisiana. Thanks so much for watching. We've got other tutorials on our YouTube site, so check us out at Fathom Inshore and Fathom Offshore. We've got our website. We've got all the new popping corks on there, soft plastics, jig heads, everything you need inshore and offshore. So thanks for watching, and let us know if you have any other questions.